And we are back. You thought we were done? No. It's Black History Month, baby. So you know the Black Comic Lord's got to bring you that fire interviews for Black History Month. Continuing our Black Comic Creator interview series, we got a dope one for you. I know I keep telling you that, but everyone just keeps getting better. It just keeps getting better. Tonight, we got a real special creator tonight, Mr. Newton Lilavois. For those who don't know, Haitian-American Newton Lilavois is a writer-creator of Crescent City Monsters, Kisha Demon Eater, and co-creator of Shattered Visions. His love of comics began when he started collecting at the age of 11 and quickly became a passion when he started creating comic books. His career path led him to become a computer programmer, but his head was always filled with stories. After backing his first Kickstarter comic book campaign, Newton decided to share his stories with the world as a comic book writer. Crescent City Monsters was his first series and continues to create new and exciting titles. Crescent City Monsters received a Ringo Awards nomination for Best Cover Artist and Best Presentation and Design. The series received multiple Glyph comic awards for Best Cover, Best Writer, Best Artist, and Fan Award for Best Work. Recently, he was nominated for Favorite Small Press by Indie Comics Dispatch. Graphic novel Kisha Demon Eater has been praised by Scott Snyder and David Walker. Snyder says, "Do not sleep on Kisha Demon Eater. Rising stars Lilavois and Bernal have created something twisted, epic, and heartfelt, not to mention fun. For fans of action horror, this book delivers big. A coming-of-age story with real bite. Newton's upcoming series, Young Monsters Crew, plans to be the latest interconnected world of monsters. He's creating a universe of supernatural beings." So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Newton Lilavois.
Wow, thank you. That's a that's a great intro. I wrote it myself.
It's all facts. It's all facts. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm good, man. How are you?
Man, I'm so happy to finally. I've been trying to get you on here for a minute, for a minute.
Yeah,
So it's I'm real happy to have you. Really happy to have you.
thanks, man. Yeah, big shout out to a lot of the people who are in the chat that I recognize. True Believer,
Yeah, let's
Charleston.
recognize our people in the chat here. We got starting from the top, Northern Wind Comics, Paul,
What's up? What's up, guys?
Bot
Hello,
Boy,
Bob. Like,
True Believer.
True
What's
Believer.
up?
What's up?
Pericles in the building, always a stalwart fan.
Thanks for
Charles Stewart
joining.
the third, artist.
Hmm.
Hey man, you supposed to work on that thing. We talked to me. Stewart, I hear you. Gordon Mahan says,
Gordon,
hey.
what's up, man? Sac passe.
And Bo Big in the building once again.
Whoa, what's
Shout
up?
out to everybody in the chat. We got a dope show for you tonight. Newton, tell me, how'd you get into comics? What was your thing when you were a kid? Like when you were, did you get into comics when you were younger?
Yeah, I was really into comics. Like I started really seriously reading or in collecting comics around the age of 9 or 10.
Yeah,
Um, and like a lot of other comic creators, I fell in love with the medium. I decided, hey, I want to do this too. I had two brothers um at that time, twin brother and a younger brother who's only like a year and a half younger. So it's like three of us sitting down, and we would actually sit down and draw our own comics,
yeah,
and each of us would do our thing. And so I really loved it. I was selling my comics to classmates, and I remember in particular one classmate, his mom's really like wanted to encourage me to do it, so she would give him money to buy the comics I was creating.
right.
And he was like, hey, my mom said this is really great, keep it up. And so that kind of really like touched me. It was like, somebody who was an adult encouraging you, because most adults don't encourage people to make comic books, so I thought that was
Who were your favorite characters when you were growing up?
it's crazy because people ask me that, and I gotta say it, and I'm very serious. I just love Marvel comics. Like I like everything,
Yeah,
everything. I was like a big Marvel head. And so like the crazy thing, well, okay, so the unfortunate thing is being a Marvel head, like because at that time I had two classmates and they kind of introduced me to comic books, right? They
right.
were because I couldn't really buy comics. There was no real local store by my way, but in their neighborhood they had older brothers and they could go buy comic books. So I used to give them money and they used to buy comic books for me. And based on their recommendations, where like I kind of started reading comic books, and these guys were pure Marvel heads. They were like,
Yeah.
nah, you gotta do Marvel, like so it's like, so I grew up reading a lot of Marvel, and they were like, nah, DC's corny. And so like unfortunately, like I was just a pure Marvel head, so I didn't read a lot of DC. It wasn't later on until I was like, DC's not that bad. And I wish I was like a little bit younger when I read it. But I was, like I said, I was a pure Marvel head. I didn't have one hero in particular. It was just like I just read everything.
Right.
And I was just like a Marvel head.
You truly love the medium.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's what's up. That's what's up. I respect it. I was a big Marvel head growing up too. Shout out to
yeah.
Greg Burnham in the building. See you in the chat as well.
Oh man, yeah. What's up, man? It's my boy
He
right
gives
there.
you a shout out. So I want you to give your pitch because those fans that are watching us right now, some of them may not have read these books and want to know why should I buy this book. So I want you to do a 1 minute pitch on all three books. Can you do that for me?
Yeah, I'll try to be quick. So, so not only is the story great, but I gotta give a big shout out to my artist Giancarlo Bernal. He's the artist for like two of the titles the first two titles I'm about to show you. That's Kisha Demon Eater and Crescent City Monsters. So let me I'm ready. I got Crescent
All right.
City
Just
Monsters.
just make sure you say give a shout out to the Black Comic Lords and say hi to them first before you get started.
Okay, you mean a big shout out to Black Comics Lord in general, or like
Just say hello. You're talking to them right now. They're talking to you right now. They're looking at you.
all right, big shout out to Black Comics Lord. My name is Newton Lilavois, creator of Crescent City Monsters, Kisha Demon Eater, and Shattered Visions. Thanks for having me, man.
And tell us about these books.
Yeah, so first one, Crescent City Monsters. Like I said, big shout out to my artist Giancarlo Bernal. As you can see, this is in black and white, grayscale. Boom, quick look at the artwork. And this is why I'm shouting out Giancarlo Bernal. Look at that. That's crazy, right? So Crescent City Monsters follows Jonas. He's a sorcerer deep sea in that New Orleans supernatural world, and someone in that world puts a bounty on his head. He doesn't know who or why, and he's trying to figure that out. So while he tries to unravel that mystery, the monsters of New Orleans are after him because of that bounty. And then we have Kisha Demon Eater. Um, this one also black and white, but it's got color accents. So again, Giancarlo Bernal came through with the artwork. Check that out. This is the what I'm talking about with the color accents. So show that real quick. So this one follows Kisha. She's out with her friends. They're ghost hunting, and Kisha accidentally releases a demon. That demon possesses her. Her family sends her to an aunt in Kansas who knows how to exorcise demons, but she gets to the orange town. She sees that it's full of monsters, and she actually needs the demon inside of her to survive. So the very thing she was trying to get rid of is going to keep her alive. I just showed you the black and white version with the color accents. We also have the full color version, so check that out. Look at that. So the crazy thing is, like when I'm at con selling both of these, people have a hard decision deciding between them. So I think the black and white wins out a little bit more. It's like 55, 45%, kind of thing. But almost pretty equal. And then last but not least, have Shattered Visions. This right here is with collaboration with my boy TJ. This one's a sci-fi, but we've got some really dope artists and colors. Check that out. This is more of a cyberpunk here. I'm gonna flip through these real quick. So besides being a horror fan, I'm also a sci-fi fan. So this one features Shattered. He's a man who was literally and figuratively broken by a corrupt system, and so he's out to actually not just take down the system, but just burn it down totally. His mind isn't there. He's like this anti-hero who's trying to burn everything down, and in the process he actually builds a cult following. So he becomes this he goes from this lone solo kind of like anti-hero to the leader of a small like a revolution. So I think you guys, if you guys are into sci-fi punk stories, you'll definitely enjoy that book.
All right. So let's get into it, man. Crescent City Monsters.
Yeah, it's my first baby right there.
Let me tell you, I'm glad you gave a shout out to your artist, Giancarlo Bernal. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah,
Giancarlo
Jean.
Bernal.
Yeah, I have the bad habit of like just saying his name quickly, Giancarlo Bernal, but I think it's Giancarlo Bernal because he helps.
Giancarlo Bernal.
Yeah, yeah.
Let me tell you something. I don't know where you found this cat, but the first thing anyone talks about on Crescent City Monsters and Kisha Demon Eater is the art.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
dude's
yeah.
art is as good or better than anything I can go onto a comic book store shelf and look at right now.
Yeah, the guy is incredible. I really lucked out with Gian. It's crazy too because um I was fortunate to find him, and when I did, I saw his page on DeviantArt, and I recognized him because it turns out that I backed a Kickstarter that he did, that he actually illustrated, because I was on DeviantArt and I saw the sample pages of the book I bought, and I was like, okay, cool. He's a pretty good artist. And he's familiar with this Kickstarter process, so he knows there's a deadline and things. So I vetted him out. I was like, hey, can you do these two commissions? He sent me these two commissions. I was like, yo, this is dope. I was like, man, this is better than the stuff that's on his DeviantArt page. I was
Right.
like, all right. I was like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like, are you available? And surprisingly enough, he was. So I was like, okay. I was like, this is gonna be cool. And so he sends me the first page, and I was just blown away. And I was like, this is gonna be something special. I was like, this dude, he's got this amazing skills, and his artwork really inspires me. Because once I saw his artwork, I was like, okay, this is like it was so inspirational that in terms of giving me that foundation how of the mood and the feel of the book, because you see
It's
it's in black and white. It's got really that nice eerie feeling to it. So I was like that noir feel to it. I was like, and
right.
it put me in that mood in terms of like, okay, the direction of the book. So
It's
big-
very cinematic, um, highly detailed. Like even for a black and white book, you don't miss the color because his use of darkness and light and shade, dude's like a Rembrandt with it, honestly.
yeah, yeah. The crazy thing is, um when we started out, he sent me the inks of the page, right? The first page, like it wasn't in
Right.
grayscale. And I was like, and even that, when you see his artwork without the grayscale, it's crazy. It's like the line work is like you even appreciate his artwork even more. But so he had sent me the page without the grayscale, and I was like, damn, this is crazy. So I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's we're gonna do black and white, but a little grayscale. And at that time, I was a big fan of The Walking Dead, so I said let's do grayscale like how it is in The Walking Dead. So what I did is I sent him a couple of sample pages, and I was like, "Can you do grayscale like this?" He was like, "Yeah, sure." And he comes back and he sends me the first page, and I'm like, "This is not." I was like, "Yo," I was like, "This dude."
I can only imagine that must have blown your mind.
Yeah, I was like, this dude is like he's I was like, this dude is being modest. I was like,
Every time you turn a page in this book, when I read it for the first time, I kept saying wow or damn or wow,
yeah,
just constantly every page. So let's get into the other half of what makes a comic book, which is the story.
thanks, man.
So takes
Yeah,
place in 1960.
I'm sorry to interrupt,
Yeah.
but can we go back a couple of pages? I just want to give a big shout out. Like if uh I think there's one more page, the interior page. Okay, yeah, yeah. Um, so Shawanda Marie, big shout out to her because she's my cultural consultant. So
Mm,
like um I'm not from Louisiana, and even though there's some cultural similarities between you Haiti in terms of voodoo and their version of voodoo, it's really not the same. So I reached out to her just to kind of get like somebody who's gonna kind of rein me in and make sure that I do it right. So she big shout out to her. She helped me with that. But if there's some liberties I still took as an artist. So if there's anything incorrect, blame me, not Shawanda.
that's what's up.
So
Shout
yeah,
out to Shawanda.
yeah, big shout out to her. So I just wanted to kind of like give her flowers. But yeah,
That
sorry
was
about
that was
that.
one of the things that I mentioned. Was going to ask you about because in the storytelling and the world building of this, um, you have a lot of immersion,
Mm,
and the city, the Louisiana or New Orleans specifically is one of the characters in your story for all
mhm.
intents and purposes.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so your as I said, your story takes place in outskirts of New Orleans, 1963,
right.
and you're introduced to these two characters here. Who are these two characters?
Yeah, so that's Jonas and his brother. I
Jojo.
wanted to, yeah, his little brother Jojo, and that's his mom's right there. So I wanted to introduce the Jonas. I wanted to introduce his family. It's crazy because when I first wrote the story, and all writers will tell you the same thing. It's like this scene wasn't here, and I wasn't gonna start from 1963. I was gonna start from near present day, but I told myself like, well, I wanted people to understand where he's coming from and connect personally with him. So I said I'm gonna start from when he was before some certain events happened, right? So I was like, and I wanted to establish exactly how his life was before then. So I decided to add this to the stories as I was writing the script, so you get to see him and his family and exactly where he's coming from. So when certain events happen, you kind of understand what he lost and how much he lost.
Right. Because he
Yeah,
also has. You mentioned that he also has a mother as well.
yeah. So yeah, that's his mom in the bottom of the first page and top page here.
Now, this family is a special family. Like, um, tell us about that. What sets them apart
Yeah, so it it's
without being spoilery.
yeah, yeah. So it's a little bit implied in the book. I don't really spell it out that much, but his family is a supernatural family. Like they all possess the ability to do magic. It runs in their blood. So Jonas is a sorcerer. His little brother has the potential to become a great sorcerer too. His mom is super powerful. So they're deep seated in that supernatural world of New Orleans. So it's like magic is like something that runs in their blood. In fact, they practice what they call Creole magic, which I wanted to since they were in New Orleans. I wanted to be when you think of Creole, really, it's like a mixture of the cultures, right? So it's got a little European, it's got some African American, and Indian, or I should say Native American kind of lore to it. So I wanted to be able to combine like a magic system based on all three of those things, not just one of them. So the idea of Crescent City Monsters is like you truly get wide variety of like cultural monsters. So I wanted to be able to expand and combine everything, into like one book where you're not just into one thing. You're touching all these other different cultures.
That's what's up. And so we also are introduced to these other characters known as the grun. How do you pronounce it?
Yeah, the grunge. So
The grunge.
yeah, so when I was doing research on New Orleans or monsters specific to New Orleans, there was the grunge, and I was like, who are these dudes? And I was reading a little bit about them and the way they had different, like with different lores or local lores, they had different like variations as to like who they are and what they are, as I was doing my research. But one of the things that popped up was like um they were a combination of albino and like small people. And but when you look online and you Google them, a lot of people had drawn them as like lizards, which really didn't make any sense to me. So I was like, "Yo, Gene, let's make them exactly just like that. So, most of the times, as far as I've seen, the grunge art depicted, like I said, as like lizard like people. But so I had Gian kind of like reimagine them like this. Like one of the cool things that Gian did was, and I didn't really notice until late because he didn't he doesn't tell me these things. He'll just like draw them, and it's not until like I really look. I was like, oh, sometimes he'll like make their eyes, cross-eyed. Like so he'll like,
Yeah, I noticed that in two different directions.
yeah. So I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. So and I love these characters because initially I was just like they were gonna be treated as like throwaway characters, but the more I wrote, the more I was really interested in it because the dynamics. Because I was like, oh, I could use these guys sort of like a social dynamics. Because the idea behind them is that in terms of ranking, there's like a social ranking of the monsters in Crescent City Monsters, and they're ranked as like bottom feeders. Like people don't respect them. They've been treated badly, and so that's the motivation behind both the two characters you see here, Queenie on the left, and then Kingsley on the right. They're like kind of like Professor X and Xavier, not exactly, but Queenie is like their leader, and she's like she helped them rise from like the lowly ranks, but they still carry that stigma of being bottom feeders, right? So it's like kind
Right.
of like a social hierarchy statement, right? They're they're seen like as they, even though they've achieved this power, they still got that stigma to them, and so that achievement in power and rising power is uh, due to Queenie, right? But she's betrayed by Kingsley because Queenie at one point, she gains this special power that could even, you put them on top, but she kind of wants to share it with the rest of the Crescent City Monsters, other supernatural, and he's like, nah, we've been mistreated. Why would you even consider sharing the power? We need to be on top. He's really hell bent on the way he was treated, and it's in his heart, and he can't let it go. Right? That like, he's like, nah. It's like, we still got a way to go, and so like, but Queenie is more strategic. She's like, nah, just because we have it doesn't mean we should use it, kind of thing. And so they bump heads, and
Sounds like Black Panther and Killmonger.
yes, yeah, sort of like that, yeah. It along those lines where people in one two strong leaders have like different opinions, like as to how they should go about the I guess sharing or the power that they currently have.
And so, Jonas ends up disappearing after this encounter. And I'm going to talk about how, but
Mm,
suffice it to say, he's removed from the board after this encounter with the grunge monsters. And
mm.
then we sort of fast forward to more modern times. Like, what year are we fast forwarding to on this next page?
This one isn't current time. It's the a year after Katrina.
It's like
So
2006 or so.
yeah, so they're recovering, and the reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to go back and explore. It's not really explored in here, and it's funny because there's so many things I want to put in the book, but I don't want to force it in. But one of the things I want to explore is the condition of New Orleans a year after Katrina, right? They were still struggling. It was like, the government wasn't really pulling its weight in terms of helping them out. And as I was watching this documentary, I was like, that's crazy. I mean, like, New Orleans was still kind of jacked up, and I was like, that's a crazy, scary world to still be in. So I wanted to kind of stay in that world and kind of explore it too. So I'm trying to figure out how to really emphasize that too in the story without getting distracted by it. So it's something like one of the many different aspects. Like you said, the city of New Orleans is one of the characters in the story, and so it's one of the things, different aspects that I want to put in the book too. So so many different things about New Orleans that that I'm trying to put in there at the same time, carry these stories, but and not make it too overwhelming because it's I created a lot of subplots
You did. You did.
in the book.
So let's get into some of these characters with all these plots you got going on. So you have these two kids at the top. Who are
Mm.
these two kids?
Yeah, these kids are brothers and sisters, and they're also what we call supernaturals. They have special abilities. Brittany and Box, and uh Brittany is, she's a sorceress, a young budding sorceress. She and her brother lost their parents to Katrina. And in my book, Katrina is really caused by regular people think it's like a was like a regular storm, but it was caused by a secret battle that like most regular people don't know about, and their parents died in that battle. And so Katrina wasn't just like a storm. People think that's what it was, but behind the scenes it was more than that. It was a supernatural battle. So they lost their parents to that battle, and so like I said, Brittany's a sorceress, and her brother has the ability to summon other supernatural people when he plays his horn. So he can summon certain things, and it kind of touches on it on in it, like that scene on the right page here. He's playing his horn, and he hasn't mastered the ability yet. So like sometimes he'll accidentally call certain people. So like in this page on the right hand scene, he um he accidentally not summons but pulls Baron Samdi. He's a voodoo loa of death. He accidentally pulls him to her, and he doesn't. And as you can see, like in the middle of the page on the most right hand side, he's looking really suspicious. He's kind of like he he he's kind of suspicious of him because he doesn't really realize that he was drawn to him, and that's his powers. But he's like, it's like, what? Why am I here? So, but he's these two are going to be essential characters going forward. They're a lot more powerful and pivotal than they realize.
What's interesting about Baron Samdi, he is as you mentioned, some of the similarities and differences between um, um, Creole culture in Haiti and the one that's in Louisiana and New Orleans. But he is consistently in kind of both those cultures, is he not?
Yeah, yeah. He plays the same role in both cultures, and I'm really gonna have some fun with him. I see Gordon in the chat mentioned that he thought Baron Samdi's human avatar was an interesting choice, and yeah, I wanted to, and the reason it's crazy because you know I chose like a white female because it's the opposite of what Baron Samdi is visually, right.
Right.
He's this African deity or spirit, and he's like in and he's supposed to he's a real macho guy. He's like his personality is like he's crude, he's a womanizer. So I was like, man, it'd be crazy if I put him like in like a I love doing contrast, right? So I was like, what if I put him in like a white woman? That'd be crazy. So it's like so and when he's possessing somebody, he doesn't change who he is. So he's going around acting like a dude, you know, as this particular character. So I thought it would be kind of interesting to do that contrast as the character was as it was going through the story, Because if he was just possessing another dude who had the same characters as he did, it would be like I don't think it would be as interesting, you know.
Yeah. I mean, you put a lot of thought into these
Yeah,
characters
thanks.
and their backgrounds. What about this one at the top of the page here? I believe his name is Corporon.
Oh yeah, Coperon. He's another like he's like this really he's like an example of like one of the monsters in Crescent City Monsters. He's like one of those he's like the Starscream of he's like this backstabbing guy who he's with the bad guys, but you know, given any opportunity, he'll just take he'll take uh he'll take his chances and just he's always on his side. So he's gonna be another interesting character.
Are Brittany and Bach somehow related to Jonas?
No, they're
Or
not.
is-
They're they come from like different families,
Okay.
but you know, families who know each other. Um
Look at this
so
comment
he
from Cody S. Says, was I the only one who thought it was funny when Baron Samedi called his white host a good horse?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Was that the intent?
Yeah, yeah, because it's an expression that they use when a lower possesses you, a cheval. Um my French is bad, but it means horse.
Okay.
so, so he's like, you know, and because they you know figuratively ride the host, so like,
Oh, okay. Now I get that because you actually say that in one of the pages. Callie is a cheval.
yeah, 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 you
Okay.
know,
I
like a
didn't
lot of
realize.
things that I write, you know, sometimes I'll spell things out, sometimes I'll just like, you know, just put it in there. So like, if you know, you know, kind of thing.
Now, this is one of those pages. Remember, I said there are pages that when you turn, you're like, "Damn!" or "Wow." This is
Yeah,
this is one
yeah.
of those splash pages. This is tell us who these characters are.
Yeah, so this is the New Orleans kind of like supernatural group that runs everything. So you have vampires, you have these guys on top. I don't know what I'm gonna call them, but you have like these various the you know the tall guys with the hoods. Um you have these various monsters in New Orleans and they make up like this one group that runs that region because in this world what happens is like it's like every place New York City, you know, Chicago, California has its own group of it's like a mob, right? It's like the mob. Every place has its own group of ruling you could call them I guess gangs, but you know, they call themselves different names like houses. They'll be like houses or you know different names. So what happens is this is the group that runs New Orleans, and it depends on how powerful you are in you know in the Crescent City Monsters world. The more power you have other houses paying tribute to you. So part of the thing is like the like I said, Kingsley he's hell bent on power, so he elevated the house of the monsters of New Orleans to a certain level that certain people are paying tribute to him and the monsters of New Orleans. So and these are the monsters here.
So these two particular monsters, the one on the left, I believe, is a vampire, and the one on the right is a witch, like a
Yeah,
witch
yeah.
coven.
Uh-huh.
And they're is there any significance to the two of them?
Yeah, they kind of like so they're members of the houses and like the guy on the right I'm sorry, the guy on the left is he's a vampire. Now he so what I did is it's originally I was going to do like the regular kind of gothic like
Mhm.
vampire, right? But then I was like, nah, you know, that didn't feel right. So I wanted something unique, or I thought it was unique. Maybe somebody else has the same idea somewhere. But I wanted more of like something different. So I thought of was like these vampires have actually like demon bats who sit like on their shoulders, and or sometimes they're nearby, and they merge with the demon bats and become even stronger vampires. So it's like they're not your typical vampires in that respect, because they have this symbiotic relationship with these demon bats that makes them powerful.
That's an
So that's
original take on vampire genre.
yeah, yeah. And like when you start off, you don't really as a vampire, you don't really have a demon bat. Is not until like later, the stronger you get, the you'll acquire one, and she's the leader of a witch coven, so she's pretty powerful too. And they have this like really they had a relationship, and but they have this like love hate thing with going on with them. He's more like, hey, there's this destiny, like he's kind of like a vampire prophet, and he's focused on this one prophecy, and she's more like a nonchalant witch, like, hey, like, we're going about our business, and why are you so serious, kind of thing. So it's like, but they're like they're attracted to each other, so it's like a
Right.
witch and vampire. And so in that scene, they kind of forming an alliance, because
Yeah.
they were kind of on the outs for a little bit, and he's like, I don't trust you, because she did something to him like 100 years ago. They live for a long time, so like 100 years ago to them is like like 2 years ago. So it's like they hold grudges
They
for a
hold
long.
they hold grudges.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So on this next page, we talked about Baron Semity before. We also have another character from Creole culture, Papa Legba. Um, so you have these two characters, which are very, if I understand it correctly, prominent characters in voodoo lore. I think both in New Orleans and in Haiti, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, yeah. They
So
are.
the fact that they're kind of, and I know you have a Haitian background, the fact that they're sort of cross in both cultures, is that what was the impetus for you introducing them in this book?
Yeah, I wanted to introduce the lowers, because anytime you talk about anything that has anything to do with like voodoo, or African spirituality, it's always
Mhm.
like in the negative aspect. So
Right.
I was like, I'm gonna make these guys the good guys. And so like and they're really interesting characters. So Papa Legba, he's like that lower who opens gates, right? So I was like, yo, that's dope. There's so many things you could do with him. And so you can see in the book, and well, actually, before I start, typically Papa Legba is shown as like an old man with a hat, straw hat, and whatnot. But I decided just visually to kind of change him, again, because I wanted something different. Um, so there's no rhyme or reason to why he why he looks like that. I just wanted something really totally different, and I kind of like I wanted to kind of like give him that Yoda look too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. You can't really tell from this picture, but he's kind of short.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So um I wanted something different about this version of Papa Like, but I wanted to keep Baron Samedi as recognizable as possible, because visually he's just a dope character. And when people see him, you really shouldn't change him much. It's just like people should be like, oh, it's Baron Samedi. So yeah, so these
Yeah.
two, they're in the book, and they're out. They're very powerful. First thing, right? They're not really like limited, and the things that they do, because there's like this one scene where Papa like Buzz, like there's a Tyrion in the fabric of reality, and he says, well, I fixed them before, but I can't fix this one. So it kind of like, it's like a line that I threw in there to kind of give you an indication, like, okay, well, these guys are, more than just going around possessing people. There's like other stuff that they do outside the realm of humans, right? They got other responsibilities, like they don't necessarily, there's not like they're always living on earth, always waiting for humans to come around. Like they there's other stuff that they do in the world. So I wanted to kind of a little bit touch on that. I hope that line kind of like shows people like, okay, these guys are up there in terms of where they fit in the cosmos. And then I wanted to team these guys up too, because I love the idea of like making like Baron Samedi being such a out there personality, and Papa Legba be a little bit more conservative
Right.
and be like, hey, hold up thing. But at the same time, he's they kind of have, I want to establish a relationship where, like, when they're hanging out, they kind of like get on each other's nerves. And they're like, yo, well, why'd you do this? Or how can you put us in this situation? Like, don't worry, kind of thing. Still kind of give them that kind of like human feel to it.
You have a question from Cody. He asked, "Do you have a favorite character from Crescent City Monsters, and if so, why?"
Yeah, man. Let's see.
Without doing any spoilers.
Oh man. Well, so far, man, that's hard to say. But I would say, because I know how the story's gonna end, my favorite character is gonna be the main character, Jonas, because his arc is gonna go through something that's kind of like incredible. Well, I think it's incredible. So he's my
It's
favorite
funny. It's
character.
funny you should mention Jonas because he. Remember, I mentioned before to you that he disappeared.
Mhm.
He does come back, and he looks a little different.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he comes back. So I guess this is a bit of a spoiler, but not too much of a spoiler. I guess it depends on. But yeah, he comes back and
Don't do
he's
the spoiler.
okay.
Don't do the spoiler. I
But
just said he came
yeah,
back. I didn't go into any more detail than that.
yeah, he comes back different. Um,
I mean, because
and we're
remember,
gonna
this is what he looked like before. And now, whoops, too far. Oh, way too far. He's here,
yeah, yeah, that's him right there. Totally different person.
which leads to our next book. Now, one another question we had about Kisha the Demon Eater. Same artist, right?
Yeah, same artist. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um, Cody asked, "Are both of your stories set in the same universe?"
Well, yeah. I'm glad you asked that question, Cody, because they are set in the same universe, and the plan is I'm gonna include young monster crew. So the plan is both Crescent City Monsters, Keisha Demon Eater, and the upcoming young monster crew is all going to be in the same universe, and so those are going to be the three titles that are going to anchor a universe of supernaturals. So you have in comic books, you have a universe of superheroes, and o- most of them gain their powers in different ways, right? Magic, science, technology, whatnot. But in my universe, it's just monsters and the supernatural. So um all three books are going to be set in the same universe, and all three books are they're going to be some crossovers and some tie-ins. So you're definitely going to see, like, for example, Keisha Demon Eater. Either Keisha or characters in Keisha are going to make an appearance in Young Monster Crew. And even in Kesha, there's a little bit of a crossover. You see the grunch is actually in a couple of the pages of Kesha, so you could
Well, let's take a look at these characters
yeah,
and
sure.
go and talk about this book because Keisha is another dope book as well. In this story, and just make it, I'll read what you have here. Ancient African demon king Kishi has hundreds of demon sons, but one day he fathers his first and only daughter, Kisha. Kishi shows only disdain for his daughter, but demon Kisha seeks the approval of her father. So she starts devouring her demon brothers to gain Kishi's attention and love. Angered by her actions, Kishi imprisons demon Kisha to prevent her from consuming more of his sons. Centuries later, demon Kisha will escape.
Yeah,
So, wow.
yeah. So
That's kind of dark, dude.
yeah, it is because so first Kishi is an actual demon
Yeah,
um from Angolian mythology. And so, and I encountered him while I was doing some research. I was looking up for a different story. I was looking up African demons,
right.
and I came up on Kishi, and the way to describe him is this demon with uh, 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 um, hyena. uh, Two, he's got two faces. He's got like a regular face, and he's got a hyena in the back of his head, and he would go around seducing these women and having like children with them. I was like, wait a minute, don't they see the hyena in the back of his head? So I had so many questions, and I was like, but then I was like, but this is a crazy ass demon. I was like, what the? So I was like,
The visuals in the book are kind of crazy.
yeah,
Derek,
yeah.
can you bring that up?
Yeah, so this is actually ancient Angolia. So we saw
You got these two young women walking around ancient Angola, you believe it, you said, right?
yeah.
And then you've got over here on the right, you're mentioning the the hyenas with the heads
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
are the
yeah, yeah.
representatives of the demons. And these are
Yeah,
the sons from
yeah, these are
sons of
sons.
Kishi, right?
Yeah, these are those are his sons and the guys who just transformed. And you can
Right.
see like it flips, like, when they're in their human form, you don't really see it. Um but once they transform, their human heads flip back, and you see their the hyena, because that was like the way I was like, okay, well, to to figure it out, or to solve the mystery of like, how is it that people are allowing like people with two heads anywhere near them. I was like, let's kind of like interpret it this way, right? And GN did a really excellent job. Like,
That's an
sometimes,
understatement.
yeah, I'm like, and he it's like he doesn't read my mind. He just understands like the what I like the vision that I want to accomplish, and then he does what he needs to do to things. So it's like we're both telling the story, because and he did an amazing job with this. Like, especially with, I like the way he placed the head, and it just looks like it's plopping there.
Right. It's almost like it's hanging like a hoodie behind the
Yeah,
head.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So, but so with the mythology, like, I made up the part with the sons and Kesha, because I was like, that's the part that I made up. The demon, it actually exists, but the sons and Kesha doesn't. At the time, I thought I was being like real slick. I was like, oh, his name is Kishi. I'm gonna make his daughter Kesha. So I thought being all slick and playing with like names, but like I told you before, I'm not really good with names. But anyway, um so that's how I came up with the name Kisha, because it was based on Kishi.
So this is
And
Kesha back in ancient Africa. She
yeah,
comes
that's
across the brothers, eats the brothers. Now
yeah.
she couldn't just be Kesha the demon killer. It's Kesha the demon eater. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
why does she have to eat them?
Well, like it goes back to like how I was with the vampires. I
Yeah,
was like, how can I make this different? You have
yeah,
vampire, you have demon slayer, right?
right.
Um, in anime, right? So I was like, how can I make it different? It was like demon slayer is cool and all, but I want something strange that people like. What the? Can I curse on this thing? I was like, yeah. So I was like, like people say, "What the fuck?" It's like a demon eater. What's that? I wanted like a reaction out of people like that, and
Well,
that's
I think on
exactly.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, they had a black Slayer, and I think her name was Kesha.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, so if you're lucky you named the Demon Eater because you might have had like a copyright
Copyright
infringement or
situation.
something if you named
Yeah.
it Kesha the Demon Slayer or something.
Oh yeah. Oh, I dodged that one, right?
You
So,
dodged that one, and you made it
so
interesting because it's different.
yeah, yeah, and she's possessed by a demon. Uh, there was something I wanted to mention too, but I forgot what it was. But so anyway, so like I said, oh okay. So the one thing too is before I go into like also the name, the one thing about too the backdrop that I set, and the reason why I told the story the way I did, because I forgot what you said. You said, well, what was the adjective you used for when you first read the backstory? You said it was something, but so
Immersive
uh,
world building,
no, it was something else. But anyway, so then the reason why I structured the backstory that way is because uh like Greek mythology, have you ever, when you hear the story of the gods, it's
right?
like crazy. They be like, oh well, the wife did this, and so like some crazy thing, and the guy was like, oh, I'm gonna punish you, and so we're gonna do this to you. And but the way they structure the story is like like the gods do these crazy things. You're like, no, really, this is what they did, and
The
they
gods are petty. They're very
yeah,
petty.
and petty, and or like they don't think like the way they think is like crazy. Like that's the next logical step that they did. You know what I mean? So I wanted and plus they're demons. So when I constructed a story of like, well, I was like, her father hates her, right? You would think like, oh well, I'm gonna, the typical route is like, well, I'm gonna hate my father back. I'm gonna get revenge on him, right? But no, she's her thinking is like, oh well, you know what? Maybe he'll love me if I get rid of my brothers. You know what
I
I mean?
mean,
So,
for real. I mean, she is literally having a demon temper tantrum. She's like, my
exactly,
daddy
yeah,
doesn't love me. He's ignoring me. I tell you what, I'm gonna eat his sons. I'm just gonna devour
yeah.
the sons to get my daddy's attention.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to like tell it, and so I'm thinking like, well, yeah, I guess if I was a demon, that that would make sense to me. It's like,
So
so like,
dad locks her up after the temper tantrum of eating the
yeah, yeah.
brothers.
He's like, and that's the
Really,
thing too. Like when you look at these mythologies, like they never like it's almost like they never kill them. All they do is really punish them, right? They're like,
right.
oh, you did this, and you know what I'm gonna do? Time out here. Put the world on the shoulders. You know what I mean? It's like, or like they punish them somehow. So he's like, all right, you know what? This is crazy. I can't have you doing this. Instead of being like super mad, like, what are you doing, girl? Da, da, da. I mean, he's mad, but he's not like trying to kill her. He's like, more like, oh, this girl, what I'm gonna do with you, instead of that, he's just like, what, I'm gonna imprison you because you're becoming meddlesome. So I wanted to kind of be on that level where, like, in terms of the a backstory, so like that's why the story is structured like that, and I just wanted to kind of go back and kind of explain that.
Well, we got a question from Big Phil in the house. He says, "Is the artwork in pen and pencil? Because I need a page."
Yeah. I mean, I wish it was, but Gene is all digital. I've been thinking about, hey, maybe you should do some sketch pages, Gene, and send them over to the US and like hand drawn. And he was basically like, dude, I haven't picked up a pencil and pen in like years. He hasn't drawn like,
Tell him to do some sketch work in paper and pencil, and next
yeah,
year
yeah.
come to an event in Orlando, Florida called
Oh,
OAX.
yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, yeah.
We'd be happy to have him.
Yeah. I've heard of that. He can make a killing. Yeah, I wonder if he
He would make a killing, yes, indeed.
yeah. Oh, shout out to Tribe.
Cody also asks, I would like to say that you have not missed to any of the stories that you are telling. He appreciates the way you put a story together.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's
So, talking about the story. So, after she's imprisoned, we fast forward to modern day, New Orleans again. And we've got these two young ladies. You got this whole crew, really. These four teenagers. They're like teenagers, right?
yeah, they're teenagers. They're like 16, 17.
I like this crew is like the Scoobies, right? They're like
Yeah.
the Scooby Doo
They're like
gang.
they're the New Orleans version of the Scooby Doo gang.
They're paranormal. They're kind of interested in the occult and the supernatural, and they're trying to find
Mhm.
supernatural things in New Orleans. And this one dude, I think he's Filipino, right? With the knife.
Yeah, he's Filipino. I wanted to
Oh,
include because my artist is Filipino,
right.
and I was like, let me include some Filipino people in here. So I was
That was
like,
cool. That was a
yeah,
cool
so
homage to this culture. And he's got
yeah,
this
yeah.
knife that glows, kind of like what was that thing from Lord of the Rings? I can't remember the name of it. Sting,
Oh, okay.
right? That glows whenever evil's around, the demons are around. So he's
Yeah,
got the same thing.
that glow that June did is like amazing. I don't even know how it does it. It actually looks like it's glowing. It's,
Yeah, it's
it's like
that
crazy.
digital quality that he does in the coloring.
Yeah.
So they decide to go on to this portal, right?
Hmm.
In New Orleans, and they're
Yeah,
searching
actually,
around.
this is based on like real place in New Orleans. Um, I think it might have been an old Great Adventure, but
Yeah, it looks like an amusement park.
yeah, but there was this there used to be an amusement park there, and it's no longer there. I was watching these. It's crazy when like you do like research and the things that you encounter, and then I was watching how this guy he snuck into this old rundown amusement park. Just I think it might not be inside New Orleans. It might just be a little bit outside New Orleans, but it's close enough. And I was like, "Yo, that's dope." I was like, "An abandoned amusement park. I gotta put this in the book." So so this amusement park is also in Crescent City Monsters, and it's also so I decided to still include it here. And so
You have the
I thought,
grunge in here too
yeah, and then that's when the Grunch make their first appearance. Not well, yeah, the first appearance,
in this book.
yeah, in this book, and that's so I wanted to. That's how I wanted to tie in Crescent City Monsters because at this point, I was just starting. It was the first issue of Kesha. I wanted to because initially I wasn't going to combine the world. I was going to make it two separate worlds because I really didn't want to keep track of like timelines and people, but I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? I was like, nah, let's combine the worlds, but to simplify it, I'll just like create. I'll just connect the grunge, and again, I love these characters, grunge. Like um, yeah, I love those guys. So like, I just want to make more books of them. So
Well,
but
that's
yeah,
why I think you made a good move in connecting the two books
mhm,
because you can really just build this world,
yeah,
and just keep it going as a series.
hmm
I think the fans going to appreciate that.
yeah, and I wanted to like give like different options because like with Crescent City Monsters is gonna be really dark and gritty. Kesha is dark and gritty, but it's gonna be a little bit, something a little bit more that I guess younger folks can kind of gravitate to because she's got like younger friends and they're gonna do their own like adventures, and then even then we have a young monster crew, which I'm going to try to make a little less gritty. I'm not sure if I could do that because my writing tends to be to be more on the gritty dark side. It's just I can't really help it. That's where I sit. It's like so.
You just need one comedic character in the story, and you can just go
Yeah.
for it.
So I'm
Some
so
comic relief.
I want to be able to capture like a range of things. Like, and I wanted to create. I really wanted to create a world where like um it's really supernatural. It like I said, in comic books, the source of powers for people varies, right? It's like science, technology, and magic. But the world I'm building is like I want all, if not most, characters all based on supernatural elements. And I think building a world like that would be like really dope. So with those three titles, that's what I want to do, and I just want to be able to build off that and just like, do a story about the grunts, do a story about all these other characters that are connected, and there's a character in here that's coming up called Hawk.
We're gonna
He's
get to that next.
yeah.
Cody's got a question. Was there anything you were hesitant to add into your story?
That's a good question because as a writer, you you are a little hesitant to write certain things, but then you gotta be like, well, at the same time, you really can't be afraid, because it's like if you're afraid to write something, you're really gonna limit yourself. And there are things that sometimes I get hesitant in writing. But yeah, I can't really think of anything offhand right now. Maybe as we go through the page, I'll keep that question in my head, and if there's anything that I see that I like, oh yeah, I was really hesitant
I
about
will
that.
tell you something that I'm happy you were not hesitant to put in the book, and that is some black belt theater,
Uh,
some old school black belt theater. I
yeah,
swear, I had to check the book. I'm like, did I switch books? Like, we went from teenagers exploring, being Scoobies and finding demons in a cave and getting possessed by a demon to black belt theater.
yeah,
This look, this looked like it came right out of Kill Bill. Shout out to the
yeah,
outfit that G put her in.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
this was a dope scene, and I also, again, this sensei is also Filipino, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's Filipino. He's the father of one of her friends, and he's known Kisha for years. Um, but yeah, there were two things I wanted to say about that. So I was hoping that the transition was good, but I think I set it up because earlier she talks about, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to the dojo. I haven't seen you, haven't been in
You did.
training,
You did a
so I
good
wanted to.
transition. I didn't want to put all the pictures. I mean, that you got to leave something for the audience to see. Like, I'm skipping. I'm just doing the highlights.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I hope I did a good job at that.
You
Like,
did. You did.
that people were like, "What you doing in the dojo? Like, what's this about?" I hope in the earlier pages I did enough of a setup where it's not a super surprise that she ends up here, like in this dojo, because I mentioned it like a few times. And then the second thing I want to mention is, again, every time I talk about this, I always got to give Jean a shout out because in the script, I'm like, she's in her jumpsuit or her outfit, da da da.
That's the
And
same outfit she has on in the cover.
yeah, 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 yeah. So but I never say what color the outfit is, right? And you know, when Gene came back, he colored it yellow, and I was like,
It
oh,
works. It
I was like,
works.
I didn't think of that. And I was like, yo, that is so dope, and
I actually had a weird question for you
mhm,
about the cover.
mhm,
As you look at things that make a good comic book, and
mhm,
what I love about indies is, some of the independent publishers actually pay attention to some details that, the big two really don't.
mhm.
The quality of the paper that you use, and the cardstock you use is top notch.
Yeah,
It's top
thanks, man. I
notch.
appreciate
But
it.
you have something that I've never really seen before. If you notice, there's no glare
Yeah.
because this is a matte
Yeah,
finish
yeah,
on the book. I've never seen a matte finish on a graphic novel before.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
dope. It kinda makes the colors pop even more.
yeah,
How
yeah.
did you do that? Was
So
that
it's
intentional?
it's crazy. I'm glad you mentioned that. So first, the good thing about being a indie creator is like, like the big two, not to knock them, but they're thinking about cost effective stuff, right?
Right.
Not that we shouldn't as creators, but I'm a big fan of like Steve Jobs, right? Well, okay, let me reword that. I like the way Steve Jobs approaches creating products, right? What he because I read his autobiography, I've listened to him, and I was like, man, the way he talks about his products is crazy. He really thinks about them. And so like when I was like looking at my book, um I used to take pictures of like my book, right? Or I used to like, be on podcasts. I used to be like, hey, check out my book. And I used to see all this glare and I was like,
Right.
I
Right.
hate that glare, man. I was like everybody uses it. It looks slick in real life, but when you're taking pictures and when you're showing them, sometimes the light just like doesn't show everything, and that's annoying. I was like, I'm going with matte look now, right? So I was like, because you're a indie comic creator, so you can like if you want to do that, you can do that, right?
Does it cost more to do the matte finish?
No, I don't think it costs more. I don't think it costs more. If it
Then how
does,
come more people don't do that?
I think because people are more impressed with the gloss, like they think like, oh, gloss looks nice and it looks more slick. But
I think this is better.
I was like, man, it's annoying when I take my pictures that there's a glare. So I was like, let me go with the matte. And then
Right.
that's when I discovered like my printer had this thing called soft touch. I was like, what's soft touch? I was like, you know
Yes.
what? Let me yeah, so I was
It's
like,
literally soft to the touch.
yeah, yeah. So I was like, you know what? Let me experiment with this soft touch thing. It sounds kind of cool. And I at first I did it with this Kickstarter project I had where I had this one book called Dream Fury Presents, and it was supposed to be like a book that had a collaboration between me and Keith Cross, which it did. Unfortunately, I had planned to include Greg Anderson, Elisa in it, but the timing was off, and we couldn't get the story together to put his in it. But So in order to fill it, what I did is like I put some other stuff in it. I was like, man, this is not really like a anthology or whatever, like the way I originally envisioned it. It felt like like more of a magazine. So I was like, I'm going to call it Dream Fury Presents. And so like I was so it was basically, it was really an and I really love the idea. I wish I could do it. I wish I could like create that like at least like quarterly, right? But time really can't. I with my time, I really can't. But anyway, to cut the story short, so with that book, I was like, okay, let me experiment with the soft touch cover because I can experiment with that book, and it came back. I was like, oh, I was like, this really is soft touch. I was like, man, when
It really
people,
is soft. I'm not.
I
I'm
was
not.
like,
If y'all, for y'all watching, like, check the book out. It feels different.
Man, when people feel this at the cons, oh, I was like, when they pick this up,
It's
and
gonna sell it.
yeah, I was like, and to me, like I said, like I really like to think about the books as artwork and a product that you should like the user, the user experience, right? I'm in IT, and sometimes we talk about the user experience. So, like the user experience should be like all encompassing, right? You're looking at the artwork, you're feeling the book, you flipping through the pages, and you see you feel how like sturdy the cover is. Like
Right.
the covers I use are pretty sturdy. Like
Bro,
the one good
this
thing,
book is high quality.
yeah,
High
yeah.
quality printing and production.
The good thing about these two is like um when they ship it, it's so sturdy that like you rarely get the little other things with floppies, like or little like things. So like, and it could take shipping, like bending like really good. And you see, this is matted. You can see no shine.
You
I
can
love
see
that.
more. Yeah, you can see more of the design. It makes it
Yeah,
pop more
yeah,
because it's matte.
yeah. So I and I think about all that stuff as
Appreciate you having attention to details for your fans. Hey,
yeah,
Derek,
yeah,
bring up the last of the slides. So, just wanted to run through this before because I know we're kind of pressed for time. Again, another homage to the Filipino culture is the shaman lady.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Thought that was a cool detail for you to add.
Yeah, I did a little research, like the weapon that
The screamer sticks.
yeah, Screamer is the martial arts that they practice with. They use a lot of sticks, and they also use blade too. Like blade
Mhm.
fighting is also part of the martial arts. So I used to take karate back in the day, Kyokushin karate, and so like I have an appreciation for like different styles of martial arts. So I look into the Filipino one, and they had some really interesting things. So
Right.
I wanted to add that, and that's the style that she uses. So she uses the blade a lot. So I thought that I was like, oh, that would kind of be kind of cool because um, Keisha is not weak by without the demon. You know what I mean? The demon just enhances her strength. Now she's like, if like for example, for whatever the demon, without the demon, she's still a formidable person. She's got skills.
She got skill.
Yeah, you can't really mess with her. So I
Now
wanted
she's
her.
got skills plus.
Yeah, exactly. Now she got skills plus. So I wanted her to be able someone who could fight, and I hope I was able to do it in a way that that seemed like that was natural, that didn't seem out of place.
You did.
Um,
And one of
yeah,
the characters you mentioned before was Hawk.
yeah, 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 yeah.
So who is this guy? Because he
So
comes in with, I swear, when he's introduced, you can like hear music, like the old Western spaghetti Western music is
yeah,
playing
yeah,
as he's introduced.
yeah. So it's crazy because Gian had a couple of years ago, maybe 2, 3 years ago, he was like, "Yo, I want to do art books." So I was like, "Yo, let's do it." So he was like, "All right, cool." And so like he started drawing all these characters, right? Just drawing characters, like, and he was sending me the characters. We have no story for these characters, right? It's just like these dope ass looking characters, and he wants to put it in the art book. So I'm like, yeah, we'll do an art book. It's gonna be dope. You draw the characters, and I'll think of a backstory for them eventually, right? So we've got this like I think he drew maybe like 10 characters already. We haven't like printed the art book yet, but yeah, he's still working on it. But there's a lot of stuff that we're working. But so he's like
That actually fits with one of the questions that Cody has. He says, "Have you ever thought about creating a book with a few short stories just to give your fans while we wait for the flagship book?"
yeah, I've thought about it. It's just a matter of like for me it was really time, like I said, like unfortunately this is like not my full-time job, so it's like, and then sometimes I get busy with family and work especially, the IT industry is always moving fast, and there's always stuff that I gotta do. But let's see what happens in the future. I think
Your fans
I
want
think
more, man.
yeah,
Your
yeah,
fans.
yeah. I think he yeah, I think he's definitely a candidate for his own book. But this is what I'm talking about. Like, so I want the to be able to spin off so many different like titles off Crescent City Monsters, Kisha Demon Eater, and um Young Monster Crew, like where like a character like Hawk, you would think like, well, I've got all these characters, I want them to be unique enough where people say those exact words, like, "Oh, he should get his own book," or "She should get their own," or "They should get their own book." So,
Right.
these three titles are going to be based on the idea that there's going to be this sprawling world. But anyway, real quick, Gene wanted to do our book. He created this character. We didn't like all these characters. They didn't have names, but when he drew Hawk, I was like, "Yo, we got to put him in a book." I was like, immediately, I was like, let's not wait for
Dude,
the art
dude,
book.
dude is badass. Comes in, kicks Keisha's ass. Um, he's wearing this crazy mask. I love how in the black and white version, you've
Mhm.
got the little splashes of color that makes it pop.
Yeah, yeah. Gene chose all the colors.
Um, and then Keisha's like, "Well, dude just kicked my butt. I know I got the demon inside me, and he's still able to defeat me. I don't know what's going on." And she's sitting down with her auntie. She's like, "Hey, um, there's a lady who can help you. We know her, but she's a little scary, but she'll probably be able to help you with your demon issues."
Yeah, that's the black sheep of the family, her aunt. Yeah,
Right. So the woman she goes to go see is her actual aunt.
yeah, she's blood. Yeah,
And then we see their family.
yeah, that's her aunt. Yeah,
This is a heck of a way to end this book. I mean, this is like a whole another story from this one picture.
yeah. This is her aunt. So I wanted to kind of give the Adams family yeah, yeah. Don't spoil the end, right?
No, I didn't. That's why I didn't put the actual ending, but
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was just repeating what Haru said. But yeah, so yeah, and I wanted to really I love the help the design that we came up with, the help the two tall characters in the background. So this is I wanted to kind of give the Adams family kind of feel.
yeah,
So like, they have a dog, and the dog has three eyes. It's a Rottweiler. Because I wanted the dog to look kind of like normal, but not something about it to stick out. I was like, I could do horns, but I was like, that's too. I don't know. It seems like too obvious. So I was like, maybe a third eye. Maybe that's not really something they really expect. So he's got like three eyes, and then but I wanted her aunt and her uncle to look regular in contrast. Again, like to everything else. Like everything else is spooky, but they look like regular folks. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So and I wanted to kind of like do that Adams family thing. So I had the help. So these two guys, and originally, like I gave Gene, like I said, I want their faces to look like African masks.
Hmm.
So I gave him a reference to like African masks, but and of course not being actual mask, but kind of look like them. Elongated faces. And I try to make
So
them.
you and G work together a lot in the style and look of the book, like the characters and what have
Oh yeah, yeah. He's always asking me for reference, like, and it's funny because it kills me because as I'm writing, I don't always write how the characters look. I'm just like "Da, da, 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 and let's do this and do this, and yeah,
you.
exactly, creepy.
Gordon's got names for your two characters, Creepy and
Yeah.
Cookie.
That's good. Maybe I might take that because yeah, yeah, exactly. The Benin Kingdom masks.
Right.
So I wanted their faces to kind of look like the African masks, and then I was like, what else can I do to make them just look kind of like thing? I was like, oh, I'll use this hat. And so Gian, he's always like I guess he doesn't always want to do the heavy lifting in terms of the creativity. So he's always like, I need reference for this. I need reference for this. And I'm like, ah. So I gotta like always come up with like things. So I pieced together. I was like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. Let's do this and thing. And I was like, how else could I make them look creepy? I was like, I'll give them long fingers. Let's make them tall and skinny. And so I was like, and I was like a little hunchback. Da, 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 and, so that I wish I had given you guys like the original version was way different than this. Like,
Really?
and yeah, Gian had I should have shared that, but anyway, so like the but there's a lot of stuff that changes along the way that Gian probably gets mad at me. I'm like, oh, you know what, Gian, this is not working. Let's do this instead. So so
Big Phil wants to include you in the documentary he's doing.
oh yeah, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, for sure, man. I heard about that and I saw the video coming out. Yeah, he looked like it's gonna be serious, man. I saw
I,
a little bit of it. It looks like man, it looks like some HBO shit. And I was
yeah,
like, yeah, this
yeah.
looks like it's gonna be
He's doing
dope,
it
man.
big. Trust.
Yeah,
My boy's got something cooking.
yeah, yeah.
Um, there's a question I forgot to ask you. There was a scene in the book where Kesha is like opening a portal and she's speaking some language, a foreign language. What language do you envision her speaking?
Yeah, that's gonna be Creole magic again. Something that spills over from Crescent City Monsters. So like,
Okay.
Jonas and his family is not the only one who like practices like Creole magic. It's like a New Orleans thing. So that's the thing. So I came, I try to come up with like different characters. I have like I don't think it matches the whole 26 alphabet of the 26 letters in the alphabet, like but it's a big set of characters that I have like as reference that I'll send Gian, and then like when believe it or not, Gian actually letters the comic books, so 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 like I'll have
So
to send.
he lettered as well?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I didn't even realize that.
It makes it really convenient. like, so like Gene is a monster. Like when I say he's amazing, it's not just because he's like his artwork. Like he designs the book. Like he designs the
Pencils, inks, colors, and letters.
yeah, letters, and he designs the books like um because before he used to, you see, he was a graphic designer before he left his job to become a comic book illustrator. So
Right.
I'd be like, hey Gene, can you he actually designs the book. So instead of also lettering, so like he's the one who comes up with like the interior artwork, like how we should place this and where it looks. So he gives it that nice professional look, you know what I mean, like all around. So it's like, it's like, he's the one who does this, all this stuff. He figures out how to make it look nice. I don't, I don't really do that. That's not my thing. He's the book designer too,
That's
which
why you guys are winning the awards, man. That's crazy.
yeah. I mean, Gene is like, he's amazing. Like, I'm glad he was nominated for Ringo Award for book design, because he actually designed that book, and he did a
So
really good job.
now on your next project, because you got one more book. This one I was not familiar with until you shared this with me. Shattered Visions.
Yeah, big shout out to my boy TJ Sterling. He's the co-creator of that.
Sci-fi
But
book. Cyberpunk book.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not really just a horror person. I love sci-fi too. In fact, I think I might be more of a sci-fi person than a horror person, believe it or not. But yeah, he reached out to me, a couple of years ago, and he was like, "Yo, let's do a story together." And I don't really do a lot of co-writing, because at first it's really difficult to co-write with. Well, for me, it's difficult to co-write with people. Not difficult, but it's tricky. The whole collaboration part. But I'll write with somebody like that I know, like personally, because like I won't misinterpret what they say, because I know them. You know what I mean? We're friends. We hung out. You know, I just know them. Like, so it's not like I question, like, like I have to question, like, what did he mean by that, or da da da. So it's, for me, it's easier to work with people that I've known, that I've actually physically like met, and that we know each other. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
It's easier to communicate that way. Because sometimes people will reach out with from to collaborate or co-write, and I'm like, I feel more comfortable if I know the person. That way, like, as we share ideas,
Right.
there's more like of a trust and a connection there, and I understand like where they're coming from, and it's easier for me to give that person a benefit of the doubt if there's like any questions in my mind, as opposed to like if I didn't really know that person, personally. But that's
Real
the way I am.
creative process.
Yeah,
You're having
yeah,
that
yeah.
synergy.
Yeah, so and
So
I knew TJ for a while. He's and the way he does things is pretty much like similar to the way I do things, in terms of the quality that he wants in his books, and that was important to me too. Like, he and I on the same wavelength when it comes to like how we want our books in terms of quality. So like it's like the same, like like, he's like, it's like we're cut in that aspect, we're cut from the same cloth. So it's like, no doubt, like I know, like, I don't really judge his I have no question in like, that he wants the same level of quality that I want. So I was like, yeah, cool, let's come up with a story. So we came up with this story, and I think it's a really dope story. So it takes place in the
it
future.
is. It
Yeah.
is. I mean, because like how your two previous books, kind of thing that pops out to you really immediately is the art. In this book, your opening lines on the first few pages, setting up the story, is what popped out for me.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because you've got this not too distant world, not too distant in the future, and the world is kind of run by uh, corporate greed, and you've got corrupt politicians and corrupt corporations, and they're running the world. Um, so explain the setup on this scenario.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this book, to me, kind of answers the question about the previous question, where they were like, "Oh, were you hesitant in putting certain things on?" into the book, and this is one of the books where I questioned, uh, whether or not there are certain things that we should put in this book, because in this book it actually references Trump.
We're
Um,
gonna get to that.
yeah,
Let
so I just wanted to kind of like loop back. So like this is where some of the things I was like, because I was like, this is gonna be like really kind of like political.
it
Um,
is.
should I go there? But there's certain things that, and I say, or that we say in the book, that I'm like, I wonder if like even people who think the same way I do might misinterpret. So I was like, there were certain things I was like, okay, I'm not sure if I should say it or how people are gonna respond to it. So
There was a lot of politics in this. I mean, I was a political science major in college, so I appreciated that. But yeah, there was a lot of politics in this. I mean, reading this setup, the not so distant future. Imagine a world where the unconscionable agendas of greedy politicians and evil businessmen take precedence over human lives, where they rule over territories as if they were vile gods. A world where the only thing that is respected is power and force. For one man who seeks to destroy these pseudo gods, there is no line between good and evil, right and wrong. These corrupt men mean nothing to the world's most notorious villain, Shatter. The city of Demotropolis, I can't say that word for the life of me.
Donald
Demotropolis,
Trump, yeah.
Demetropolis
Mm.
is his playground, a city where every pleasure and every painful moment can be his without remorse or afterthought. While Shatter seeks to upset the balance of power and create complete anarchy, his ideals are challenged. Before the world's most notorious villain can fulfill his personal mission of vengeance and retribution, he must choose between becoming the world's destroyer or its unlikely savior. Which will he choose? This is a bad dude.
Yeah, yeah, he's a bad dude. Like
He's not a superhero.
nah, he's not really. Like he's more like somebody who's been um just like broken down and then rebuilt, and now the consequences of like what's happened to him is coming back. It's like think about those kung fu movies where like the guy's master is killed and everything he knows is
Right.
destroyed, and he's training to come back and like destroy all his enemies. um Shatters.
To use another sci-fi term, I got Han Solo vibes from him. This guy's a scoundrel.
Yeah, well, he's more than that. He's like he's like, the reason we call it Shattered Visions is because he's a man who believed one thing, right? And he, self-assured. He's like, hey, this is how the world works, and I'm going to operate this way, and I've been successful at it, and so and I'm going to continue doing what I do, right? But he's got like, but at the same time he's got these boundaries. But then imagine where like you're deceived, and then you're not only like physically modified, but you're mentally broken because they take everything away from you. And he reacts like he's like a Batman if he went crazy. Like, how Batman's like,
Right.
oh, they killed my mom, now I'm gonna take this disciplined approach where I'm gonna study this and this and things. This guy's more like, nah. I was like, I'm about to burn everything, like I'm about to.
Right. I mean, that's a very good analogy because
Mm,
especially with a scene I'm gonna bring up here in a second. Um, it makes sense to make the analogy with Batman,
mm.
but the thing is, Batman took his rage and anger as to what happened to him and made him focus on
Yeah,
being,
yeah,
as you said, very calculating and methodical. This guy goes in the opposite direction and
exactly. Yeah.
lets his rage
Mhm.
manifest itself as, I just want to see the world burn. Like, I just want to cause chaos.
Yeah, yeah, you've got the book exactly. Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you get that from the book.
Yeah, and the thing too is like, um, you're gonna see along the way that he's gonna build a following of people because they're also yeah, yeah, everything to lose. But and it's funny, I like that last part where you said and everything to gain. He doesn't care about everything to gain. Like it's just like he's a character with nothing to lose. Period.
Right.
That's it. It's like he's not trying to gain anything. He's just like he's a character with nothing to lose, and um he's like he's not thinking about gaining anything. So like he becomes there's a point where he's gonna have to decide like, well, do I continue with the idea of trying to burn the world, or do I lead like the same people who feel the same way that I do into something else, and he doesn't know what that is. He doesn't really know what the future brings. So he's got a choice. Well, am I going to continue on this burn to hell, or am I going to create something new? So you're going to see his journey and trying to decide like what he's going to do. I think because he might just be like, nah, it's not worth it. Let me just burn.
Harold Beatty says so more like an Al Simmons. I think that's not a bad analogy from
Yeah,
Spawn when he was early on.
yeah, yeah.
All right,
Cyberpunk.
so let's run through some of the characters in this book. We've got this first one, Mark Loom,
No,
Malik F. Doom.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Now, I gotta say something very crass. This
Mhm.
guy is this he's kind of like the Tim Scott. You know, he's this conservative
Yeah,
black politician, young, good looking, upcoming um, prosecutor of this mega city who's running for mayor of this mega city and has aspirations to be much more.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, you talked about this line about Trump, and I don't know if we can zoom in here, but in this midsection, um, you have this news reporter who's interviewing him, and she's talking about the state of this world. I thought this was a great lead in. I thought this was a great way to set up what this world was. This is what I said. The first few pages is what gripped me about your world building in this particular book and made me want to read on,
Mhm.
because it really explained what was going on. They're talking about how the larger cities of the United States historically, because this is in the future, the large cities succumb to gangs and corrupt politicians and civilian militias took up arms to protect themselves. Then she says this line: fortunately, America's greatest president, Donald Trump, bravely took control and declared martial law, slowly gaining control of our country. Trump's commitment to law and order is what made America great again. This all American idea is carried on by my special guest, Malik Doom. Welcome to the show, Malik. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh no, this was so your first two books were action horror books. They're horror books, right? They're like
Mhm.
these are the things that go bump in the night and make you scared. They're
Yeah,
made
yeah,
to tap into the primal things of fear that make you scared. This is worse. This is like my worst nightmare. Trump takes over and he is made, uplifted to supreme authority of the United States and is revealed to be historically a good guy.
yeah, yeah. And here he's like, um, he's like a good guy to majority of people. Yeah, yeah,
Right, right. And this guy is like the next. She's likening him as the next Donald Trump.
yeah. Like,
I'm like, I already don't like this dude.
yeah,
And then I was saying, talking about being crass. The last name Doom kind of rhymes with coon, but I didn't want to go there. So then we see more of Shatter, and Shatter's on here kicking ass. I love this scene because the coloring reminded me of like watching a John Wick film.
Yeah.
Who was your artist in this book?
Yeah, the artist is I'm sorry, we had two artists like the because unfortunately we couldn't um so the first part like the first chapter was French dude Ziane Ziane.
Mhm.
He did both the coloring and the artwork, which is dope.
Yeah, yeah, these colors are popping. He's out here kicking ass. He's fighting this group called the FMS. So in this dystopian future, they're like these enforcers, not really police. They're more like, from what I can interpret, like police that are owned by these corporate entities, and they're
Yeah,
called the FMS. What is the FMS?
I think it's it's like federal marshal squad or something like that.
Okay.
So they're
So
more
he's going up against them. So there's no real remorse because they're not really police officers per se. They're just kind of hired mercenary thugs.
yeah,
And
they're like the how can I describe them? So in Haitian history, there used to be this not Haitian history because it was like in the 1970s and 60s, but in the 80s there was a group called Tonto Makut, and they basically were like secret police. They're like
yeah,
you had regular police, then you had the secret police, like who used to do
from
all.
under Papa Doc.
Yeah. So they're like the Tonto Makut of this world.
Gotcha. So my man, we talked about Batman vibes. He's got a car.
Yeah. It's funny because this book was fun because TJ and I put in a lot of like all the cool stuff in it. It was like, yo, why don't we do this? Yeah, we'll put in car like kit. You know, it's like, oh
This car is dope.
yeah. Artists did a great job.
As
Same,
Batman says, chicks dig the car.
yeah,
This car is dope. It has AI in it, right? This is like, it's like his Batmobile and his Alfred all rolled up in one.
yeah. Cause yeah, we were like, like I said, we just having fun with it. We're like, yo,
You will definitely have fun.
yeah, put in the car like kit in here, like narrator. It's like,
It's like, what if Kit had machine guns and missile launchers?
yeah,
I dug that. And then we have this other character. I'm like, wait, he introduced Misty Knight?
yeah,
Who's Kanisa? Kanessa? Is it Kanisa? Kanisa.
yeah, Kanisa, yeah, she's a detective. So like in their world, cyborgs are like discriminated against. So like
Yeah,
in
you
their
said
world,
the cyborgs were like the minorities in this world, or
yeah, yeah.
the marginalized peoples of the world were cyborgs.
Yeah, I was like, I'm sure it's done before. Like, not every idea is original, but I was like, it'd be kind of cool if it was a little different, where like instead of cyborgs being like, yo, it's this cool thing, but it's more like you get like this class stigma. Because I was thinking like, well, visually, you can see when somebody's a cyborg, right? So I was like,
Mhm.
okay, so like there's like classes of people, like regular people, like if they're like missing a limb or something, or if you could afford it, you get like like a artificial limb that's like cloned from something in their world, right? And
Right.
you can replace it, right? And then look, you got human flesh. But if you can't afford it, you end up like looking like a machine. And it's like visually it's a way to distinguish you, because like with black people, it's always obvious that you can't hide that you're black, right?
Right.
And so like it's the same thing with cyborg, except with them it goes across races. Like you can have a black cyborg, a white cyborg, it doesn't matter. Like they're discriminated across a race, but visually you can always see that, okay, this person's a cyborg. So that was the
It's a
idea.
caste system.
Yeah, exactly. And
I thought I really love as we'll talk about the subtle political messages and things that you put in here. I love that concept that, you know what, in the future, healthcare is so bad people can't afford to get themselves fixed. Um, and in the future, they'd probably be able to clone all these body parts. So you'd never really get sick or lose body parts. But if you're poor and you can't afford the cloning, the cheaper alternative is just give you a mechanical part. And so you have these
Exactly.
people, whole class of people with all these mechanical parts because they can't afford good health care.
Yeah, and the thing is not even just healthcare. It's like the reason why there's a lot of cyborgs is because the environment is like unhealthy. So
And
like
okay.
they're being exposed to things that they shouldn't be. And so like they actually like end up having to get you know organs removed or body parts replaced. So it's like it's not like oh oopsie, it's like I was in a car accident. I be now I have a cybernetic part. It's more like oh some it's more like environmental factors. So that's another part of it too. So um and I think at that time that's when the Flint water crisis was happening. So
Mhm.
I think that's why we added the environmental factor. I'm not sure, actually. I don't think we mentioned it in the book, but that's like a background to it. Um,
So we've mentioned some of the things that uh, seem either influences or just make you think of stuff. We've mentioned Batman, John Wick, um, Knight Rider, Misty Knight. So who else fits into this mix?
oh,
Marcus, what's his name? Phoenix from Demolition Man.
you think?
That's exactly what I. This dude right here,
Yeah, I don't see the resemblance, but if you say so.
Jack Black dude with the blonde hair. This guy reminds me of dude from Wesley Snipes' character in Demolition Man.
Yeah,
So who
yeah.
was this character? Major
He's Major Strome.
Major Strome. What is Major Strome?
So he's like he's just basically like one of their head foot soldiers. Like he's like the cleaner. Like if you need something done that the regular soldiers can't do, you bring him there. And he's super powered.
And he's
So
with the
he's
FMS as well.
yeah, yeah. And he's like he's basically like a take orders soldier, and he's like whatever they tell me to do, I'm going to do without question.
And then we talk about this to talk more about Shatter. He's not like a regular guy either because he's got what's referenced here is xenobots in his body. Like I'm assuming these are some type of nanites.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, they so the thing with him is like the cool thing with him is that like every time he gets injured and like severely injured, he comes back stronger. So like if you like really mess him up in a battle and he escapes, when he comes back and fights you again, it's like he's just stronger, and the limits of that is going to be tested, but you're going to see that like um his strength and powers grow as time goes along until he gets to a certain level. So that's going to be kind of like a cool thing with him. So he starts off at this level, and then slowly like with the rise in his following, it's also going to be a rise with his growth and power too. So that's going to kind of like coincide.
I kind of visualize the reason he's getting stronger is because he's got these nanites, and every time they have to repair something, um, they were pairing it with something that's more artificial. So as he's getting more powerful, he's actually becoming less human because he's getting more parts.
Yeah, and it's like they respond to the environment. They're saying, well, man, you got injured here, so let's strengthen this. So
Yeah.
we're gonna make the nanites like let's make this stronger. So it's like let's do this to him. And so like he just he just gets more powerful every time you fight him.
And the more about Shatter, as I said, he's not a good dude. You see him hanging out here. He's at the strip club, gets thrown out the strip club. The strippers are upset with him. Probably didn't pay them or whatever. Not a book for kids. Don't
Oh
give
yeah,
this to your
this one,
kids.
yeah, this one you probably gotta be 21 years and over to read this book.
You probably need to be about 21 to read this book. But he apparently he's worked. There's like an underground. There's a resistance to this society called Destructus.
Yeah, Destruct.
Destruct.
Yeah.
Can you explain what Destruct is?
So it's a rebel force. So imagine like Star Wars. You have the
I was
rebel.
literally about to say that. So you got Star Wars in this book. We got let's run through it again. We got Batman, John Wick, Demolition Man, Misty Knight, Star Wars. This book is packed with everything. I love this.
Yeah. So like Destruct is like a rebel group, but like I said, like he's not really concerned about like moral, like so he's not standing on moral grounds. He's just like, I just want to destroy everything. Forget your principles. I'm not really trying to like change the world and thing. I just want to destroy everything.
Seems like
But
it's less I'm on your side as much as I'm not on their side.
yeah, exactly. And because he's useful to the group, they kind of like help each other out, you could say. But they're doing it on a sneak tip, like the government doesn't realize that Shadow is aligned with them, because it was like his mode of operation is nothing like Destruct. Destruct is like low key. They do everything on the DL. They try to be sneaky. They're not trying to be out there. They're like spies, and they're more, they operate on more like on stealth mode. But Shadow's like, I'm out here, come and get me. It's like, and he's like, and there's no, as far as the government scene, there's no rhyme or reason to what he does. He like, they're like, damn, all of a sudden he's here and he did this, and now he did this, but why? That has nothing. One action doesn't seem to be connected to the other. He's just out here kidnapping people, killing people, destroying stuff, and so it's like he seems chaotic. So they're like, nah, there's no way he could be part of Destruct, but secretly he is.
And they're trying to basically
Well, he's not really part of Destruct, but he's kind of like a little bit allied with them.
they're
And
trying to
that's
like corral that energy into something that's useful.
yeah, they're trying to like they're trying to take advantage of like his chaos. Destruct is trying to take advantage of his chaos, to the chaos that he causes.
There was a reference somewhere in the book where it said the United States is a sixth world power.
Yeah.
Who's 1 through 5 in this world?
Haven't figured it out. Maybe I might make it China, because that'd be interesting.
China was probably number 1. Yeah, that would make sense.
Or what would be wild if I made it Korea.
Yeah.
like
And Mexico.
Oh, Mexico, yeah, that'd be wild, right? Right next to us. Because that would be crazy. Or like maybe what I'll do is unify Korea and make it like one country, and somehow that'd be kind of dope, right? Like right now we have North and South Korea, but eventually
It unites again.
yeah, and North Korea is wins the battle, and it's like somehow they they finagle their way and overpower China. I'm not sure how that would happen, but
this is a nightmare world scenario you're talking about. So one of the books you mentioned for your future was the Young Monster Crew, right? And you always seem to have these subset groups of kids, which is kind of interesting. You've got this group in this book called the Prospects.
Yeah, it's like I think motorcycle gangs have prospects, right? It's sort of like based on the idea.
Yeah,
Like before you become a MC member, you you have to go through these things. It's like pledging for fraternity.
right,
So you gotta prove yourself and that you're loyal and that you abide by the rules and whatnot. So these guys have prospect. These guys are called their version of that is called prospects. So um, these kids are prospects because the
it's
way these truck works is they go through this whole system. Like they recruit early and young,
mhm,
just like the Jedi do, and then they go through a system of like being ultimately being part of these trucks. So these guys are prospects, and you'll see like they kind of serve as the catalyst of like hey, maybe Shadow is right, like because they're trying to join Destruct, right? But then they see things and things happen, and then they become they're going to become disillusioned too, and they're like maybe Shadow's right, maybe his approach makes sense, you know what I
right,
mean?
right.
So it goes
What
from there.
what I love about your writing
Mhm.
um, is your world building, but your characterizations, like the characters you make. So many of them seem like they could be their own spin-off series. Like this
Yeah,
prospects thing could be its own spin-off series.
yeah,
Um, this world with this police group could be its own spin-off series. It's just it's amazing. Um,
yeah. I like that because to me, like the the supporting characters need to be almost as dope as the main character.
right,
I
right,
mean, it's not as dope as the because I think that makes the character. I think that makes the world more interesting because then you're more engaged in it. Like for example, one of my favorite series, I mean, animated or not, is the Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I love that
It's
shit.
like I mean, you have so many characters in the world is built. You can make a spin-off at so many of the other characters, you know what I mean? So
Right.
um I was like I definitely like doing stuff like that, like making the supporting characters, you know, as interesting as possible. That way, like you said, if I wanted to spin something off, I could, create like all these, different stories off of these characters.
Which leads to the next natural question: when are we getting sequels to these books?
Yeah, so okay, so the plan is Young Monster Crew, right? Try to do Young Monster Crew, right? I know people are upset. They're probably like, where's Kesha? Where's Crescent City Monsters, especially Crescent City Monsters. I know guys, it's been a while. Please forgive me. Um
It's been like a whole 3 years, man.
maybe not 3 years, maybe two. But but oh man, if it is 3 years, I really apologize. But yeah, so um, yeah, so I want to do that, and then the plan is really just to go hard after that, like really just start pumping out the books. After that, I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do that, and I think I might have something figured out by the end of the
By the end of
year.
the year, are you gonna bring G back to do the sequels?
Yeah, yeah. But I think he can only work on one of the titles first. Like, so I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to ask him like which one he prefers.
Mm.
Um, I have a feeling it's gonna be Crescent City Monsters.
He's got to do Crescent City next. You got to do them in order. He's got to do Crescent City first.
Yeah,
That's the one
yeah,
that's
yeah,
got to get done. You got to continue the story.
yeah. I would have to. So, I would probably. So Keisha would probably get a different artist. Yeah, Keisha would get a different artist. But Keisha, the way the story is structured, or the way the characters are, I don't think it would be that big of a deal if Keisha had a different artist. Crescent City Monsters, I don't know. Gene is so associated with that I think
He
changing
does.
artists might just
That
people
that would
might.
not be cool. That would not be cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Keisha could survive the change of artists. So it might be he continues with Crescent City Monsters.
All right. Derek, you bring up our next thing? Oh, just a couple of the other characters we had there. You posted this recently in our space about
Right.
ICV2 Direct.
Hmm.
Now, can you explain what that is?
Oh yeah, so this is something I just found out about, and when I first heard about it, I thought like, oh, this is a really great seems like a really great thing. But it's not something I'm like recommending. It's just like something that seemed like an option. There's a lot more information that needs to be available before I think people could really make a decision whether this is a viable option. But the idea behind this is like they're opening up like I guess a platform that publishers can sell their books to retailers. So retailers come to this platform, they see all these indie creators and they order from them, and then the indie creators ship out the books to the retailers. Now that's as far as I know. I don't really have like. I just want to say that I don't really have an association with these people. I just, when I saw this, I thought like, okay, this is really good in terms of distribution, and as an maybe this may be an option in terms of distribution, and so I wanted to share it with fellow creators because
If it's a real thing, if it's a viable thing, that could be a game changer because I've seen when Diamond, lost their big two contracts, and they started to fill the void with indie creators. You had your Stranger Comics, your Advent Comics, um, um, uh, some other really good creators.
Concrete Comics, because I've seen Concrete
There's
Comics.
Concrete through there as well. So
Yeah,
like they're all starting to make use of that, and that direct market sales by sending stuff out to LCSs throughout the country. I think that's important for their long term growth. You
yeah,
know,
yeah. It's crazy because I applied to Diamond like maybe two years ago before COVID, or actually yeah, before COVID. So maybe it was more than 2 years ago, and I didn't hear a word back from them. Maybe
yeah,
because at the time I didn't have trades. All I had was like these floppies and
right.
whatever. And I try to contact them like, hey, um, what's up? But nothing, right? So I was like, all right, let me just move on.
This could be
So
helpful if it is a viable thing, and of course, you still got to investigate it. This could really help a lot of indie comics to get in the scene and get into stores throughout the country. So I hope they're a legit thing, man. I hope
yeah,
that works out.
but I think they might have to work certain things out because the way it's structured, there's a lot of questions as to who pays for shipping, and then they have a 1 day shipping policy, which is like crazy. Like they're saying, like, okay, once you get an order, you have to go out and ship it the very next day, the latest.
Next thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Well,
crazy.
as long as they don't do like Penguin Comics and destroy 12,000 Ultimate Black Panther number ones, it should be all right.
Yeah, so we'll
A
see how that's
little bit of shade. So here's your social media, right? Tell the people how they can find you.
yeah. So fortunately, across all social media, we're just one handle, which is Dream Fury Comics. Just in case you only listen to this audio wise, that's spelled DREAMFURY Comix, all one word. That's across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And we have our online shop at dreamfurycomics.com. So you can buy all of our books there. Well, I've run out of Shattered Visions, so um, maybe TJ has some though. So,
I could use a Shattered Vision. So let TJ know I need a copy.
yeah, I'll definitely do that. So yeah, but we've got and then you could also we've got also a TikTok shop. I think it's right now TikTok is running a free shipping thing.
Mhm.
They're always doing something like that, which is kind of cool. You can buy our comics there. Um so yeah, that's where you can find us on social media. That's where you can get to our online shop.
Newton, it has been a tremendous pleasure and honor to have you on our show.
Yeah,
Appreciate you
thanks.
taking the time out to speak to us and to your fans out there. This is a very popular book in our space. We have a tradition at Black Comic Lords that whenever we do these interviews, we view these creators, you creators, as our family,
Mm,
and we'd like for you to say your name and say, "I'm a Black Comic Lord."
all right. Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Newton Lilavois, and I'm a Black comic lord.
Thank you, sir. You have now been initiated into the consortium.
I
Appreciate you, man.
appreciate you too.
Thank you all for watching. Thank you all, chat, for your very involved questions. Uh, we're gonna try and bring some more stuff to you in the future. As usual, we have our upcoming our regular programmings of Wednesday wrap up, which we've been replacing with this interview series. But on those days that we don't do the interviews, we still have our Wednesday wrap up show. On Friday nights, we have our late night happy hour with myself and my boy Mark, where we sip on some whiskey, talk about Black Panther and any other type of comics and blurredom that comes across our minds. And then on Sundays, we have OG Rich, the Panther Hearted, who gives it to you real. You can check out our YouTube page for our previous videos, including our roundtable discussions and interviews with other Black comic creators of note. Been a pleasure, man. Thank you
Yeah,
for
same
hanging
here,
out with
man.
us.
Yeah. I appreciate you, and thank you for everybody who's watching live. Appreciate you.
All right. So until next time, everyone, peace.